I'll have to tell you a story about this later, but okay, we have another 2 boxes today. I know it's been a little bit, but here we go. Let's see what we got in these 2 boxes. Yeah, this is kind of funny. I'll have to tell you a story about this later, but let's put this aside. This has to do with my first trip to Disney. First thing we have, well, it is a bag from Walt Disney World. Yep, so this is going to be from my first trip to Disney. This is a ticket from April of 1983. We have Discovery Island map. It's kind of cool. This I like. This came from Epcot. This was from when Kodak was sponsoring. I think they were sponsoring, what was that? Were they part of the Imagination Pavilion, the 80s until like 2000 something, I believe that they sponsored. It was obviously for them to get you to buy a camera. You kind of just turned the wheel and there was all the different cameras they had at the time. Magic Kingdom Park map. Compliments of Polaroid. Some more Discovery Island. Yep, this must have been mine here, and then it must have been my aunt and uncle took me on this first trip. Must have been a magnet that I bought there as well. Well, these are kind of cool. I think these are probably one of the things that I bought there. Postcards. So you could obviously put a stamp on it, and they're all pictures from each one of the places. This one is Discovery Island. This one was Pirates of the Caribbean, so let's see, we have some pictures from the ride itself. Kind of neat. Main Street USA in Disney World, same thing, some pretty cool pictures. And then Frontierland, let's see. Let's open this one up. Same thing, a bunch of pictures. I can't believe that the actual bag survived this long. I mean, it is hanging on by some threads though. So these are my first ears. I guess I got them at the same trip, so we'll call this 1983. You can tell that they're a little different up here than the current ones. And let's see what else we have. Okay. You know that in the last one we had another McDonald's cup as well. This one's a Peanuts cup. Camp Snoopy collection. Looks like another. So this is the Mickey Mouse Skater cup, if I remember. I bet you that I got this on that same trip as well. I think it's around the same time frame. So the first collectible that I think that I had. These were kind of a neat idea. I believe that my aunt at first made these, but not these particular ones. I think these came from my grandmother, ended up making them for me, but they were kind of cool because you just needed a little piece of fabric and you can tell that all of them looked a little bit different. So it was kind of cool. You had the ability to, you know, get them made for a cheap price and kind of collect them and play with them. I remember playing with these a lot, to be honest with you. This has got stuff from all over. A Lego Battles Ninjago for Nintendo DS. This was for my kids. I don't know how that snuck in there, but that's in that box as well. Now these. If you were from the 80s, you might remember these. This one's a little dirty, but it was something that you put on your wrist, and it was sweatband material on the inside. Gosh, I was obviously a lot younger. It doesn't really fit that well. And then it had a zipper, and you could put your money in it. Brio train. So I believe that this is from the 70s, I think, and you can kind of tell because the engines were a little bit different from the 70s and the 80s. And this came from my grandparents and a locomotive for it, but I'm not necessarily sure that this was bought in the United States. Grandparents did travel a lot and they would always bring me back a little something, so a Smurf keychain and a stamp And see, it's nice. My mom actually left me notes and some of the stuff, so I guess I must have given these to my grandfather, so that's kind of cool. I love this. Transistor radio, but the cool part about it, so it had AM and FM, but it also had TV channels. So you could actually listen to television from the TV radio. I would use this when I was younger to listen to all sorts of, baseball games, cartoons, all sorts of things. So, okay. So, Star Wars was huge, obviously, and this was a Luke Skywalker bookmark from Random House. It says Star Wars Watch on it, so unfortunately, the back itself probably needs a little work to get back together, but this is a C-3PO musical alarm watch, and if I remember that this had a TIE fighter that kind of moved across the screen as well, and I believe it played the theme to Star Wars, and I would play this over and over. This was early 80s. This is something that I used to actually wear. Back in the 80s, I was a huge Mets fan. This is a button, and again, I'm going to say that this is probably the 80s. This was, it's not a video game, but gosh, it sure felt like it. So this was a racing game, and what you had is you would turn this on. You can see the horses would actually go around. You'd start them all at the gate, and then you would pick odds on which one you thought would win, and there was some randomness to it, right? So you would just twist it up, let them go, and you would have odds on who you thought would win the race. And so this should have been the Sports Illustrated watch, 1997, I'm thinking. Chicago Bulls, one of the years that they won the championship. Okay. A Tonka car and a Matchbox car. Okay, so when I was growing up, I had a lot of Peter Rabbit stuff. I believe this is some Oneida. I believe these were like melamine or something like that. So I used these a lot. This doesn't feel like plastic or melamine. So this is the Bunnykins. I think this was Royal Dalton. Same sort of time frame. We're talking 70s. And this was, these are the rabbits though being kind of mean to the dad, I guess. The kids, all the kids like that. I don't know how that was appropriate for kids. Looks like part of the Oneida wear set again, yep. Part of Peter Rabbit. This looks fairly well used. Yep, another Bunnykins plate. And the last thing in this box. Another Bunnykins. This is a dish. There's a little chip on the top of it. So that's box one. Let's see what we have for box two. Okay, before I go on to box two, let's talk about this. This was People Express. So this was the flight that I took from Orlando back to Newark, and I was 9 years old. And what this is that you would pay the airline, it looks like a service charge of $5, and you could drop your kid off at one airport, and then someone else could pick them up at the other airport, and there would be people from the flight that would actually watch them. So this was signed by a whole bunch of people, but there's actually 3 different people at the Newark airport that were to stay with me from the airline until my mother actually came to pick me up. Okay, so this is our second box. I think there's some different stuff in here. These are a bunch of different bags from Toy Fair. Well, we have a stuffed animal here. This looks like it's from Manhattan Toy. A custom bear job. If you go look at one of our websites, this looks like it was a bear that one of our friends took and sewed on some new eyes and changed the ear and the mouth a little bit. So let's start with the Nintendo DS Lite. So this must have been where that game came from as well. As we saw from the first episode. A lot of Lego stuff. This is a Lego plate that came with Lego Space. Let's see. An old troll doll. The plastic on it. So this came from, I think the company was called Dam. And I think these are probably from maybe the 80s, I'm thinking. We actually got to go to Toy Fair and see Skylander before it actually came out. And then when the initial launch was, there was a big event in New York, and Amari Stoudemire from the New York Knicks was there, and actually they had a kind of a sleepover sort of party. So my son went, and they got all sorts of cool Skylander gear, Skylander pajamas, and all sorts of neat stuff. But this is a PlayStation 3 starter pack for Skylander Swap Force. But this is the whole pack unopened for Skylanders, and it looks like there's a bunch of other Skylander stuff in here as well. I'm going to go through these. So this is Swap Force's Light Core. These were so cool. So if you don't know, you should look it up. But this is a game where you would take these figures, place it on this portal, and then you could play them in the game. So these are all unopened characters. So this is Warnado. This is Stink Bomb, another one of the Swap Forces. And this had a little thing up here where you could change the bottom of the character. This was another Light Core, so Flashwing, Wham Shell, and Swap Force's character Dune Bug. Another Swap Force's Jolly, Bumble Blast. And then there was also larger characters, which were called Skylander Giants. This was Ningini. So this was one that was exclusive from Toy Fair 2012, a Cinder that was metallic. So this is something that they handed out at Toy Fair. So these were all unopened characters. I'm sure that we're going to find a box of open characters at some point because my kids played them a lot. These may have been some doubles or some extras because I feel like that they played with the other characters an awful lot. So that's what we have for these two boxes. Now we're going to go and repack them all up, get them cataloged, and move on to something new, hopefully for the next episode.